We have been waiting for this moment for so many years. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been building up to this point for so long, and we've all been asking the exact same question. Where's the Soul Stone? Where's the Soul Stone? Well, guys, now we finally know. And honestly, I can't believe the entire time it was... What's up, guys? It's Dalton here, and welcome back to Dalton Oddity. We've been waiting for this movie for so freaking long. This is what the entire MCU has been building up to since the very beginning. Now, warning, this video will contain spoilers, as I'm sure you already know if you actually read the title, because today we're discussing one of the biggest Marvel cinematic mysteries that have finally been revealed. Now, the movie basically follows the evil Titan Thanos collecting all of the Infinity Stones, which are the 6 all-powerful gems that were created at the beginning of the universe. We got the Time Stone, the Space Stone, the Power Stone, the Reality Stone, the Mind Stone, and the one we are discussing today, the Soul Stone. Now, for years, everybody's been asking, where is the Soul Stone? We've seen all of the other gems so far, but the Soul Stone has still eluded us all. But that all ended today when the movie was released. We finally get to see where the Soul Stone has been this entire time, and honestly, I was very surprised, yet it was exactly what I was expecting at the same time, if that makes sense. The Soul Stone has long been expected to be the most powerful of all of the Infinity Stones, so I personally expected that it would be a scenario that we've already seen it. I figured an important character that we have already seen, or that has played a major part throughout the series, has had the stone the entire time and we've yet to realize it. And 2, I also figured that it wouldn't just be like all of the other gems. I didn't think people had been using it for its purpose the entire time, like they had been with the Tesseract, the space travel, or the Power Stone, or whatnot. I figured it would be something that you sort of had to earn. Now, warning, this is where the spoiler zone really begins, because I am about to reveal to you where the Soul Stone has been the entire time. A lot of people thought it would be this guy just because he has a orange-ish colored stone, which is the color of the Soul Stone, sitting in his armor, and his eyes are orange. I never really was a fan of that theory, but it doesn't even matter, because today we were finally revealed the truth, and that is what I'm going to share with you guys. So basically what happens is Thanos first captures Gamora from the Guardians. He leads her and the other Guardians along with Thor into a trap, and of course they fall for it. Then Gamora leads Thanos to the location of the Soul Stone. It's basically these 2 really tall, icy, frozen towers in the middle of nowhere. The 2 of them arrive there and they are confronted by this sort of masked guardian of the Soul Stone. And it turns out the person that's been guarding the Soul Stone is Red Skull. This is what I mean by it's exactly what I thought it would be, and it's not at all what I thought it would be. Like I said, I thought it would be somebody that we had already seen that had the Soul Stone, but I definitely did not think it was going to be him. I thought it was going to be a hero, not an old villain. And the explanation they give sort of makes sense. I guess since he tried using the Tesseract for evil purposes or something, he is now the guardian of the Soul Stone. Doesn't really make sense to me. Why would using the Space Stone make you in charge of the Soul Stone? Your guess is as good as mine. That's what I mean. Like, I expected it to be somebody we knew. Not him, and definitely not for that reason, because it doesn't really make sense. Like, was anybody that ever touched one of the Infinity Stones and destroyed by it then the guardian of the Soul Stone and then replaced by the next person that touched a Infinity Stone? But that doesn't make sense either, because we've seen other people touch the Infinity Stones after Red Skull, and he's still there. I don't know. The next part that came, honestly, was not that surprising. Red Skull did not actually have the stone to just give away to anybody. Anybody that wanted to get the stone had to first pass a sort of test, like I suspected. To do this, basically Red Skull says, in order to get the Soul Stone, you have to trade a soul. A soul for a soul. And the only thing that Thanos supposedly loves, which still doesn't make sense to me, is Gamora. And he pushes her off a cliff, and she dies. This, again, like I said, exactly what I expected. I thought they would have to earn it. I did not think Thanos would be the person to get the Soul Stone. I thought the heroes would first find the Soul Stone, and then Thanos would eventually beat them and obtain it for himself. I definitely did not think it would be something that he would earn. Because like I said, I always thought it would be something that you would earn, not that you would just take. So it didn't really make sense to me, because how would he do that? Because I knew it would be something soul related, and I've never pictured him of having a soul. And Gamora herself questioned that. She's like, this isn't love. You don't love me. But for some reason, that's how it works. It is what it is. Long story short, Thanos steals Gamora, go meets Red Skull on his icy mountain. Thanos then throws Gamora off a cliff, and bada bing bada boom, he's floating in this fancy pool in the sky with the Soul Stone in his hand. But like, honestly, come on, he did not need to do all of that work. I had the Soul Stone sitting right here the entire time. Crazy Thanos, he could have just come here. I could have shown him how to make one himself. And I'm going to show you guys how you can make one too. If you came here just for the tutorial, I'm sorry for that long intro explaining the Soul Stone. And if you came here just to hear about the Soul Stone, then you can leave. I'm done talking about it now. Now I'm just going to teach you how to make your own. Now, unlike all of the other Infinity Stones, the Soul Stone didn't have any sort of cool container because, like I said, it had not been being used by civilizations like the Eye of Agamotto or the Power Stone or the Tesseract. Like, those have been used. Containers have been made so they can be used by people other than gods. But the Soul Stone, not so much. So this is my tutorial on how you can make one. I basically went very simple. It's just in this glass container. I'm essentially just teaching you how to make a light up crystal. And honestly, this sort of doubles as the Mind Stone as well. If you turn it this way, it's more yellow. This way, it's more orange. Honestly, they've both been depicted as just like a dark yellowy orange, so it works for either of them. This is part of a Infinity Stone series I have going on. We've already made the Tesseract, the Space Stone in the last video. Make sure you go check that one out. And after this, we're going to make the rest of them as well, except for maybe the Mind Stone. Like I said, this sort of doubles as the Mind Stone. Mind and soul, all in one. Plus, I don't necessarily want to make Loki's scepter. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Let's make this. Here we go. We will be using a material that is very familiar to this channel, which is thermoplastics. Now for this, we are using crystal art made by Worbla. We usually use transparent art on this channel whenever we want to make something sort of clear and crystally, like the big Daltarity crystal that is Soulstone Orange for this video. But today we are using the crystal art because it is a little bit clearer. But first, before we get to that, I'm going to show you how to set up the lights. Now for this, I'm using these floor lights that I found at my local Michael's. These guys are super cool. It's basically one strand that splits off into 4 or 5 more smaller lights with a little battery pack that is powered off of watch batteries down at the bottom. Like I said before, I'm going to be displaying the stone inside of this little glass dome. In order to hide the wires, I will be sliding them inside of a straw. So I first drill a hole that is the size of the straw in the base of the dome. In order to find the middle, I just traced the circle onto a piece of paper, folded it in half, and then in half again, and then use this little center point where the lines cross of the folds to find my middle point. I drill a hole just big enough for the straw to slide into, and I did not film this part, but I also routed out a small channel on the underside using my Dremel tool, just so that I would have a way to hide the wire and it wouldn't be all wobbly underneath it. I then took the straw, which I have now painted black using some spray paint, and began running the lights through the base and the straw. I went one by one because they did not all fit in through the straw at the same time, of course, so I just shoved one in, and then another one, and then another one, until I was able to push them all through the top like so. I then glued the straw and wires into the base like this. So now I got a little black stick sticking out of the base with some lights sticking out on top of that. Time to make these lights look like a gem. An infinity gem! Like I said before, we are going to be using Worbla's crystal art. When working with this stuff, it is very important to keep safety in mind, wear some gloves, and have a nice smooth work surface. I'm using a piece of wood coated in some water. The water will help prevent it from sticking to your work surface or your hands or your tools or anything like that. Basically just heat it up very hot. This has a much higher melting point than other thermoplastics, so be very careful. Heat it up and start melting all the balls together. This stuff is going to cool down very quickly as well, so you're going to need to keep heating it up. I'm using a heat gun, which I find to be the safest method. Do not melt them in water like you would with little polymorph beads. Those things have a much lower melting point. You would have to have your water above boiling. It's not safe, so just don't do it. Now it is time to color them. Now, what is going to work best for this is some sort of plastic dye. Anything that has the word poly in front of it, like the polyrit dyes meant for polyester fabrics, is going to work best because those are meant to dye plastics, which is exactly what this is. If you have any sort of resin dyes, those will work very nicely as well. I did not have any yellow dyes for this, so I resorted to using food coloring, and it worked for the most part, but I definitely don't recommend it. You're basically just gonna pour the dye on to the crystal art, keep heating it up and molding it and heating it and molding it until the color has been worked all the way through. As you can see, since I used some water-based food coloring, it did not fully mix in. It's sort of just weird, but it does give it a nice orange tint. I just used some yellow because it had an orangey tint to it to begin with. Now just heat this back up and start molding it over the lights. You don't want the lights to be just solid in the middle, but you also don't want them to be so spread out that it's sticking out of the plastic. You want to find a nice balance. I sort of found that I liked it best whenever they were pushed to one side, and then that sort of gave it like it was shining through from the back and gave it a nice darker orange color, and then a nice lighter yellow color on the other side. The straw melted just a little bit while I was adding the crystal on top, so to hide this I took a little thin strip of some Warbler's black art and just wrap that around as well. Heating it up, wrapping around, it'll stick to itself, it'll look nice. I did the same thing around the base just so it had a similar look. Then I just popped the dome on top and bada bingity boo, it was done! Had my very own soul stone, not too shabby if I do say so myself. And I do, by the way. Like I said, this one is very simple. There's no fancy container to put it in or anything like that, but it is a cool way to make a nice glowing stone, and you don't have to put it inside of the box. You could skip the straw and all of that and just put some lights underneath some thermoplastic and it'll look really cool. Then you can just sort of fold it in your hand, have the battery pack in your sleeve like I do with my magic wand. Get creative, do whatever you want. You can make all the stones like this. But yes, anyway, I hope you guys liked it. Here, maybe you can see it a little better. Sort of just looks like an orange glowing blob, huh? Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. I had fun sort of just talking about some superhero stuff at the beginning. If you like that, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a huge thumbs up. And if you make your own infinity stones, make sure you post them on Instagram and tag me at Daltotity, spelled the exact same way it is here. And of course, if you've not already, but you would like to, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. We're making all of the infinity stones, and I know you don't want to miss them. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you real soon. Bye. I know only gods are supposed to be able to touch it, but I wonder. Good. Either all that must be a god to touch it stuff is mumbo jumbo, or I must be a mage.